Welcome, I'll be reviewing Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. If I look a little tired this morning, that's because I was at Tig Notaro last night. You'll probably know her as Jet Reno on Star Trek Discovery. She actually did a little shout out to the Star Trek fans during the show. Got a lot of cheers. I'll talk about that more at the end of the video. This episode of Picard had such a creepy horror vibe. All those Borg transporting into the abandoned vineyard in the dead of night. And then Agnes getting that full black Borg outfit. Oh, I am so here for it. This was amazing gothic sci-fi. Chateau ruins, lightning, thunder, lightning and the thunder. All we needed was some organ music and maybe have it shot in black and white. I feel like Mary Shelley would be very proud of this episode. The original queen of sci-fi. This was never about perfection. You're just like me. Lonely. And I think Agnes was right. Plus, she was fighting back really well. I mean, emergency combat Elnor hologram? What a fun way to bring the actor back on the show. And also, can I have one, please? Activating emergency combat hologram. Boom! There's Elnor with his sword. Normally I get really irritated by flashback scenes in the middle of a combat situation. But in this case, I was so intrigued by Picard's mystery backstory that I was just as interested. And equally happy to see either storyline, which is pretty rare. Usually I just get annoyed when they're interrupting a battle scene to be like, and now, some character backstory. And I'm like, plus, Baltar. I'm always happy to see him. Chris should have been shot more severely, I feel like, with so many target locks on him. But I'm so glad he wasn't. That was sweet of Picard to send him away like that, knowing Chris was wounded. That's one of the things I admire about him, and the reason he's probably co-favorite captain with Michael for me. Because he equally values honor and duty with people's lives in balance. Actually, a lot like she does. Maybe that's why I like them both. Dr. Teresa and Chris have such chemistry together. Their relationship is so naturally charismatic. I still want them together. But no, he had to be all noble. You know what? There's still time. I believe in this ship. It hasn't sunk yet. You will die running. What a threat! Brent makes a fantastic villain. And creeping around shadowy vineyard corridors with the Borg after you and the laser sights, vroom, vroom. That would make a great game design, especially with all the secret passageways. New game, Chateau Picard. Attack of the Borg. I also enjoyed the history lesson and all those World War II artifacts in the underground tunnels. That was just, I wanted more of it. Can we go back down there and just explore everything? Poor Seven though. After Voyager and everything she did for them, even Janeway trying her best, Starfleet wouldn't let her join? Seriously? Wow. No wonder she's angry and keeps people at arm's length. I would be too. Also, a knife and a corkscrew against the Borg. You know what? It's Seven. I think a corkscrew is all she needs. And then when she started transporting people into walls, yes. I also love how Elnor was picking up all these guns and going, nice, this could work. But I can find something better. And then he finds the sword and is like, perfect. I love him so much. I've missed him this season. Plus, he had that Voyager era mobile emitter on his arm. So many details on this show. The Queen Agnes speech as Seven lay bleeding out was riveting and horrifying. And then the real Agnes wrestling back enough control to give a Picard-worthy speech of her own. Yes, a volunteer collective offering second chances. A truly democratic Borg collective who would lose no battles Because they made no enemies. Everyone there would have chosen to be Borg. Kind of like the Cullens. I know, you're probably like, not Twilight. But you know what I mean? Dr. Cullen chose people who were dying and gave them another chance. Like, he found Rosalie bleeding out on the road after what those people had done to her. Rosalie found Emmett having been attacked by, I think, a bear. And she was like, I can't lose him. And brought him back in her arms, managing to not drink his blood so that Dr. Cullen could turn him and give him a second chance. Esme, I think she jumped off a cliff or something. Like, Agnes was saying, let's do what Dr. Cullen did. Let's turn the Borg into vegetarian vampires, basically. And I know that's going to make a lot of people angry because, you know, the fans love the Borg as a villain and they're terrifying. I totally agree. But what an interesting concept. This is a direction we've never seen Star Trek go with, and I want to see what happens. I'm very curious to see what this new Queen Agnes volunteer collective will look like. And more importantly, will they sparkle? I'm kidding. They won't. Will they? Speaking of finding people who needed second chances, Picard discovering his mother like that, having hung herself. Oh, the poor kid. And then he was blaming himself because he let her out of her room. Oh, I just wanted to go through the screen and give him a hug. How traumatizing for Seven to get reborged, though. I mean, she just wanted to be normal and then had that ripped away again. And that was huge at the end when she basically looked at this new creature, Queen/Agnes, and said, maybe someday we could be friends. That is a lot of forgiveness right there. A lot. I'm so proud of Seven. The scene that gave the most impact for me, however, probably just went past a lot of people. And that's when Picard saw what she was going through with her implants back and said, Seven, are you all right? And she responded with a pause and said, I am myself. Those of us that have chronic pain and depression, when people ask us, how are you? Or are you all right? You have a choice between basically lying to them or dodging the question. It's a question that is fine if you're just like not in pain all the time. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. But please, not everyone can say that because a lot of times we're not fine. We have like a migraine and it feels like someone's stabbing us in the head with like knives or other issues. So I've never known how to respond when someone is like, how are you today? I kind of freeze and I'm just like panicking. What do I say? Do I lie? I also don't want to scare the normies and be like, I am in excruciating pain, about to pass out. How are you? First of all, stop asking people that question because that puts them in a very awkward situation. And secondly, if you start hearing people respond with, I am myself, this is why. Thank you, Star Trek, for finally giving me a response that I can confidently say. Queen Agnes left us with quite the mystery as well. 2 Renees, one alive, one dead. There are so many ways that could happen in Star Trek. Post your favorite theories in the comments. Also, Q might be their easiest way home now if he can get his powers back. Unless they find the Stargate plus a solar flare that can send them to the right time period. I mean, we had a BSG Star Trek crossover. Can we have a Stargate one now? I can't wait for the next episode. I think it might be the finale. And I can't wait to see how the new Borg collective turned out in the future.
We are the Borg. Do you need anything? We're here to help.
And now a few quick thoughts about the fun that I had last night. I'm off to see Tig Notaro, aka Jet Reno. This is being held at the LBC, the Luther Burbank Center for the Arts. There is no video recording of any kind during the performance, so here's a few ambiance shots. As you probably saw, it wasn't the hugest audience in the world, although the clip of the theater, I was the first one after the house opened, so that's why there was no one in there. I was waiting by the door. Yeah, I was a little bit excited. Anyway, we were pretty raucous as a group though, so I feel like we made up for the fact it wasn't a packed house. And I was up in the balcony center. That's my favorite spot. And there were a lot of really enthusiastic fans of Tig. It was great. We were in like the big cheering section. Mostly she was talking about her family and some of her experiences with the health issues that she's had, like going to the chiropractor. There were some fantastic stories from that. I was just cracking up. We were practically crying, laughing. She is so good. I think my favorite anecdote though was she and Stephanie, her wife, had gone to bed and their son came into the room and was like, "I don't want two mommies." And Tig was like, "Oh no, here we go. How am I going to explain this to him?" And then he went, "I want three." It was so cute. Like, her kids sound amazing. Also, I have heard Bohemian Rhapsody talked about endlessly. I'm embarrassed to admit I've never heard it in my life. Until now. Yes, we had a Bohemian Rhapsody sing-along with the audience. It was amazing. I feel like that was the perfect way to hear it for the first time. And there were a few things, I think, in some kind of a chorus. It was hard to tell. But anyway, I could sing along to part of it, just picking it up. But everyone was just shouting, probably totally off key. And we were just having the time of our life. In fact, one of my main takeaways was when Tig sat down at the piano and was just randomly banging on keys and just enjoying herself. What I realized was she was on stage doing possibly the worst rendition of Adele you've ever heard in your life, and we loved it. The entire audience was just in stitches. You don't have to be perfect at everything. You can get on stage and randomly hit piano keys, and it's okay. And I'm a perfectionist. I have a lot of trouble with that. So the next time I start beating myself up on not being the absolute peak perfection at something, I'm gonna try and remember this moment of Tig on stage, just boop doo 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 on the piano. And remind myself it's okay to be terrible at something. Just enjoy yourself and enjoy the moment. So overall, it was just a fantastic time, and if you have the chance to see Tig Notaro live at any point, I would highly recommend taking her up on it because it was so cool. And yeah, I did have a few moments where I was like, that's Jet Reno on that stage. I'm in the same building as Jet Reno. And actually, I have performed on that stage. I've been a dancer at the LBC many times, and so that means that I have now stepped foot on the same stage as Tig Notaro, and I'm just like, yes. Until next time, live long and prosper.